This week on ATV News, a shooting at a mall in Washington state has left 5 dead, with the police still searching for the suspect. A new video has been released that shows the death of Keith Lamont Scott in Charlotte, North Carolina. Both presidential campaigns are preparing for Monday night's debate, and a new Super PAC ad compares Secretary Clinton to Richard Nixon. I'm Wes Young.
And I'm Tony Peak. ATV News starts now.
President Obama vetoed the 9/11 bill Friday, which would have allowed families of 9/11 victims to sue the government of Saudi Arabia for any role it may have played in the terrorist attacks 15 years ago. This legislation, called the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act, marks the 12th time President Obama has vetoed a bill. However, a congressional override, which requires a 2/3 majority, is expected sometime next week. Obama says the act would neither protect Americans from future attacks or have an impact on U.S. response to such acts of terrorism. Both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump have stated they disagree with the president's decision to veto, with Mr. Trump calling the decision shameful.
New Jersey and New York City bomber Ahmad Khan Rahami's family is now speaking out to the FBI. The suspect's father, Ahmad Rahami, says his son became different after a recent trip to Afghanistan and Pakistan in 2013. Mohammed said this trip led to severe tension, which led to a fight that resulted in one of his other sons being stabbed. Mohammed went on to say that he found that his son's mind was not the same, that he became bad, and that's when he chose to inform the FBI. Now we go to Savannah McCann with entertainment.
Thanks, Tony. Hi, everyone. I'm Savannah McCann with Entertainment News. This week was the 68th Annual Emmy Awards. The night brought us record-setting wins, poorly timed Bill Cosby jokes, and one ex-presidential candidate driving a limo. With 22 nominations, The People vs. O.J. Simpson won big with 9 Emmys, yet it was Game of Thrones that stole the show with 24 nominations and 12 wins. This makes it the most winning drama and fictional series of all time. Ladies, if you ever dreamt of dating Brad Pitt, now's your chance. Brangelina, the power couple of the past decade, is no more. Angelina filed for divorce on Monday due to irreconcilable differences. Rumors are swirling surrounding a child abuse scandal facing Brad, but there's been no comment from either party's reps. The couple adopted 3 children and have 3 of their own. The couple met on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith back in 2004 while Brad was still married to Jennifer Aniston. Brad quickly divorced Jennifer and has been with Angelina ever since. No word on how Jennifer feels about this divorce, but I can imagine the "I told you so" look on her face. Onto a budding relationship. Khloe Kardashian was spotted with NBA player Tristan Thompson in a Miami nightclub. Khloe was not shy about showing him off and spreading the news of their budding relationship. Wonder how that makes ex-hubby and fellow NBA player Lamar Odom feel. Another Kardashian relationship is making headlines this week, as Rob and Blac Chyna, who are expecting a baby girl in October, are having another on-again, off-again moment. According to momager Kris Jenner, Rob is happier than ever, and the family has really welcomed Chyna. This is a huge deal because there was major drama between Kylie and Chyna. Basically, Kylie is dating Tyga, who is the baby daddy to Chyna's first son, leaving Rob and Kylie in a weird family love triangle. This drama is all showcased on their TV show, which airs Sundays at 9 p.m. This week, Rob and Chyna will take on Chyna's hometown, which is right here in D.C. On the topic of TV, Miley Cyrus and Alicia Keys had their first week as coaches on The Voice. Season 11 of the show is off to a great start with the blind audition round, and this week was the first elimination round of Dancing with the Stars. First to go was Disney Channel star turned heartthrob Jake T. Austin. Hopefully we can make it through the rest of the season without any more Ryan Lochte drama. But you know, only time will tell. And that's it for This Week in Entertainment. I'm Savannah McCann. Back to Tony and Wes in the studio.
Thanks, Savannah.
So, People vs. OJ did pretty well in Game of Thrones.
I thought it was amazing. I loved that Sarah Paulson brought Marcia Clark, the person that she portrayed in People vs. OJ, and then what she won the Emmy for, brought her to the Emmys last night.
You know, it was really nice to see.
Both the Clinton and Trump presidential campaigns are postponing visits to Charlotte, North Carolina, following the death of Keith Lamont Scott, who was shot by police earlier this week. The mayor of Charlotte, Jennifer Roberts, requested that the candidates delay their visits to the city to not further diminish the city's resources during this time. On Friday, Scott's family released a video filmed by his wife of the police encounter that led to his death. Many, including Secretary Clinton, are calling on the Charlotte police to release dashboard and body camera footage of the encounter as well. The Charlotte Police Department refuses to release the 2 videos until there is a compelling reason to do so. Protests that began in Charlotte following Scott's death still continue today.
Just when we thought the lead crisis was over, think again. The mayor of East Chicago, Indiana, has put out an order saying that over 1,000 residents of a low-income housing complex have to evacuate due to elevated lead levels. Not in the water, but the soil. Families are being displaced, and the complex will soon be demolished. Locals say that this shouldn't come as a surprise because the problem has been going on for decades.
Now we go to Kate Ivey with sports.
Thanks, Wes. I'm Kate Ivey, and here's what's happening in sports. The Cowboys took home a win after playing the Washington, D.C. Redskins. The rookie quarterback, Dak Prescott, carried the team to a 27-23 victory. The other rookie on the team, Ezekiel Elliott, had 134 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So far, the Dallas Cowboys record currently sits at 1-1. The Washington Nationals are first in the rankings for the American MLB League. However, there's controversy over the outfielder Bryce Harper's shoulder injury. The Nationals general manager, Mike Rizzo, denies that Harper is playing through any pain at all. Harper himself won't address the question and blames his bad season on his shoulder injury. The NFL fantasy football leagues are in full swing. Julio Jones is the top wide receiver in the top 150 rankings with 9 receptions, and David Johnson for the top running back with 134 rushing yards. Both players are among the best 5 players in the ranks. American University's women's field hockey beat Holy Cross 8-1 on Saturday, September 17th. Natalie Corner scored a hat trick for the team and was awarded the Geico AU Student Athlete of the Week. For sports, I'm Kate Ivey. Back to Wes in the studio.
Thanks, Kate.
Now let's go to Casey Wexler to find out more about recent student protests on campus.
On September 6th, the Student Worker Alliance, Black Student Alliance, and other student activists started daily protests against Aramark, AU's food and cleaning services provider.
We've been this week working on multiple things. There's this big issue where Anna was fired for missing 40 minutes of work because she was at class at the Washington College of Law. She worked that out with her managers and supervisors, made sure that they knew that would be happening, and made sure that they were okay with that, and they were. And they decided to fire her anyway. Without any real notice. And so that really spurred on the protests we've had over the past week.
Anna's situation sparked the protests, but they have since expanded to include a larger conflict between Aramark and the workers. 2016 is a contract negotiation year, and Aramark is not meeting the demands of the workers' union. We've noticed, it's not just about Anna. Our slogan at the time was, justice for Anna is justice for all workers, but in reality that's not the case. Anna is just one example of many workers who have been abused by Aramark. And so, we're still fighting for Anna. That's definitely a big focus of what we're doing, but at the same time our real goal, in the grand scheme of all these things, is the contract negotiations.
Because my understanding, Aramark does not want to give us anything. If they do, it's pennies. So we have to let them know that we're worth more than pennies.
On September 11th, the Student Senate joined the protesters' cause, passing a resolution condemning Aramark and calling for Anna to be rehired. Active protests in MGC have died down since that weekend.
This week, meanwhile, we're taking a little step back. We're still petitioning. We're still meeting. I'm constantly walking all over campus, coordinating with people, even now. We're just getting ready for some big stuff that's going down.
We have a lot of big things planned. We can't go into details about what they are, but everything connects this year. Everything is a big old circle, and it all connects to Aramark, to other faculty members, everything.
AU Dining Services had no comment about the recent protests or status of contract negotiations, but student activist Noah Leibovitz has indicated that protests may continue if demands are not met. For ATV News, I'm Casey Wexler.
Tony, it seems just like year after year we hear more of these stories of problems within Aramark and its workers.
No, absolutely. And it's becoming more and more prevalent now with social media especially. The Facebook movement has been just at an all-time high, trying to get the awareness out there. So hopefully these issues will be resolved very soon.
Definitely. American University professor Alan Lichtman has correctly predicted every presidential election since 1984, and now says that Donald Trump is headed towards a win in November. Using his own system of historical context, which he refers to as the keys to the White House, Lichtman says his criteria points to a Trump presidency. However, he adds a caveat to this year's prediction, that given the unusual nature of this election cycle and the Trump campaign in general, Lichtman says that it is also extremely possible that Mr. Trump will defy the odds of the keys to the White House and history itself and lose the election to Clinton.
Now we go to Liz Holmes for the weekly finance update.
Thanks, Tony. I'm Liz Holmes, and welcome to the weekly finance update. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 137 points this week, closing at 18,261 points. The S&P 500 went up 25.5 points this week, closing at 2,164 points. The Nasdaq went up 61 points this week and closed at 5,305 points. On Wednesday, the Federal Reserve decided to not raise interest rates. Janet Yellen, chair of the Federal Reserve, says although interest rates were not raised, the economy is overall doing well and many jobs are being created. Though no change now, Yellen also stated that there is a stronger case for raising interest rates in the coming months, which is the same as what she said in August. According to the Consumer Price Index data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the cost of college is down nearly 4% since last year. This is due to college and tuition fees rising slower and overall inflation is getting a chance to catch up. Though we'll still be paying exorbitant amounts of money to get our education here at AU, take solace in the fact that it costs just a little bit less. That's all for finance this week. I'm Liz Holmes. Now back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Liz.
And now we go to politics with Justin Gick.
Thanks, Wes. Welcome to ATV Politics. I'm Justin Gick. President Obama had a very busy week in New York City. The president addressed the nation on the bombings of New York and New Jersey. He reassured citizens not to have fear and commended first responders. The president also addressed the United Nations General Assembly. The speech touched on the presidential election and what would happen to the country if aggressive nationalism or crude populism win. This was the president's final address to the United Nations, as he will no longer be president in January. To the campaign trail this week, Democratic presidential frontrunner Hillary Clinton and Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump took to social media this week to comment about the recent police shootings in Tulsa, Oklahoma and Charlotte, North Carolina. Clinton referenced the two victims and said this needs to stop. Trump stated that the situations in both cities were tragic and everyone must come together to make America safe again. Hillary Clinton is currently leading Trump in Florida by 5 points, and Trump is leading Clinton by a slim margin in Georgia. Sources close to George H.W. Bush say that he will be voting for Hillary Clinton in the upcoming election. The former president has not yet made a statement. Both presidential frontrunners will face off in their first debate on Monday at 9 p.m. The election is only 44 days away. This week on Capitol Hill, the Senate voted to advance legislation to fight the Zika virus. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said lawmakers have yet to reach an agreement, so there is no text. McConnell is hoping to move the legislation to debate soon. The Senate is also close to a deal on a stopgap funding bill that would prevent a government shutdown at the end of September. Congress must pass a stopgap bill before the fiscal year ends on September 30th. The Senate is continuing its investigation into Wells Fargo CEO John G. Stumpf. Stumpf attempts to apologize for a scandal involving millions of sham accounts. The CEO keeps being questioned on the bank's unwillingness to punish senior executives for misconduct that resulted in $185 million in fines. The investigation is still ongoing. In D.C., legislation intended to give hourly employees more predictable work schedules effectively is not being brought back to the table. This all happened on Tuesday with the D.C. Council voting 9-4 to table the bill. On a lighter note, the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History opened its doors for the first time. President Obama rang a bell to officially open the door to the museum. The bell is from the First Baptist Church in Williamsburg, Virginia. The museum has many interactive exhibits and theaters to view historical documentaries. That's This Week in Politics. For ATV News, I'm Justin Gick. Tony and Wes, back to you both at the news desk.
Thanks, Justin. A new study by the Commonwealth Fund states that 20 million people will lose health care coverage if Donald Trump were to become president, while 9 million people will gain coverage if Hillary Clinton were president. Trump's plan is to repeal Obamacare and replace it with a new tax deduction, and Clinton is planning to increase financial assistance for people with private insurance and expand government coverage. According to the study, both approaches will have very different results. Now let's go to Sumita Bhattacharya in World News.
Thanks, Tony. Welcome to World News. I'm Sumita Bhattacharya. A lot has been going on this week in the Middle East, where a boat holding 450 to 600 migrants capsized off of Egypt's coast. The casualty count as of Friday afternoon was 162. However, survivors who were rescued relayed the fact that there may possibly be hundreds yet to be found who have drowned. This is becoming a problem, especially for the EU, as the death toll of Europe-bound migrants has risen extensively since 2014. In addition, conflict in Syria is still going on since the airstrike which hit an aid convoy near the city of Aleppo on Monday. As of Friday morning, strikes were continuously made by the Syrian government to take over the rebel-held parts of the city. Moving on, conflict is heightening in the disputed state of Kashmir. An attack on one of India's army bases on Sunday led to the death of 18 soldiers, and in more recent news, a militant was killed by Indian troops toward the northern part of India-administered Kashmir. This conflict is especially looked at as both Pakistan and India hold nuclear weapons. With the heightening conflict, there is a fear that a military confrontation will occur, which would lead to numerous casualties. Lastly, there are differing views on newly appointed Hindatu Umar, who is Nigeria's first female and youngest person to hold a position in the city of Argungu. Many of the views are opposing to her appointment, as they believe that Umar is too young at the age of 25 and that she lacks a political background. Umar took the position following the ending of the previous local chairman's term. That's all for World News. Let's take it back to the desk.
Thanks, Amita.
A manhunt is currently underway in search of a suspect following a shooting at a mall in Washington state. The shooting took place Friday evening. 4 women died at the scene, and a man who was airlifted to an area hospital later died as well. Police say they believe the suspect acted alone when he opened fire in the makeup department of the Macy's at Cascade Mall in Burlington. This comes just 1 week after the stabbings in a mall in Minnesota, where 10 people were injured. Now we go to Jill Cameron for the weekly weather report.
Thanks, Wes. I'm Jill Cameron with your weekly weather forecast. Thursday marked the beginning of fall and finally some relief from the summer heat. It's going to be a little bit chilly tonight with a low of 56 degrees, and temperatures are expected to remain in the low to mid-70s for the week. We're going to get a break from the hot DC sun and see some clouds for the first half of the week. On Tuesday, be prepared for some light showers throughout the day with some overcast. And finally, the sun will show itself again on Wednesday with a high of 75 degrees. Looking to the weekend, we will see temperatures in the upper 70s with some sunshine. With your weekly weather forecast, I'm Jill Cameron. Back to Tony in the studio.
Thanks, Jill. A new ad has people raising their eyebrows. 2 top Republican Super PAC donors, the Adelson and Ricketts families, have funded a new ad that compares Hillary Clinton to former Republican President Richard Nixon. The ad features a narrator saying, quote, "a secretive, paranoid politician who destroyed 30,000 pieces of evidence," end quote, referring to the lost email scandal that Clinton faced as Secretary of State. People are wondering what the motive behind this ad is, because these donors have not yet backed Republican candidate Donald Trump. It is said that these families want to help all of the Republican side, including Senate candidates.
Next, let's go to Casey Wexler to learn about how the administration is addressing racism on campus.
This Tuesday, American University held a community conversation regarding racism on campus. During the forum, students brought up multiple issues, including a lack of diverse faculty members, a lack of a non-Western perspective in the classroom, and the lack of required diversity education for students.
I just want consensus from all students of color and Black folks as I continue. Do y'all mind that I switch this conversation as to what needs to be done instead of talking about how we feel?
This forum comes after freshman Black women were attacked earlier this semester when white male students threw bananas at them, and a protest was held outside GC on Monday in response to these incidents. Members of AU's chapter of the NAACP used the forum to propose changes that would curtail racism on campus.
We wanted to see is just where teachers are more transparent in terms of how they teach class, how some teachers are not comfortable talking about the issues that are quote-unquote controversial. I mean, you're an educator in the first place. You should be comfortable with those issues. And also another demand we wanted it was just for, in terms of orientation, to have students, have to take mandatory, basically it's just mandatory on race issues on culture to understand each other. So they know such incidences, the connotation between a banana and black people, just those type of things. It's just that can make sure that we're not ignorant, that the students coming to AU are not ignorant themselves.
Faculty members at the forum, including Gail Hansen, Vice President for Campus Life, responded to student suggestions, including those of the NAACP, saying that most of these demands could be met. However, these answers were not entirely satisfying to these students.
I was happy to know that they were listening, and I was happy to get feedback from them, positive feedback, but I don't know if I will be satisfied until I see actual change.
This forum gave everyone from graduates to undergraduates a chance to share their grievances regarding race on campus. Now it is time to see if the university will act on any of these concerns. For ATV News, I'm Casey Wexler, reporting.
It's interesting, Tony, this idea of a mandatory training on race or culture. I mean, we have very similar trainings for sexual assault prevention, and clearly something is needed.
Absolutely. We've been seeing this on campus recently with certain events out, in the news today. It's just something that we need more education on, and hopefully something like that can happen here at AU. I think it's definitely needed.
Yes.
Let's go to Erin Duran and Chelsea Fosu with What's Up AU.
Thanks, Tony. I'm Erin Doran.
And I'm Chelsea Fosu, and this is What's Up AU.
The first few weeks of classes have been very eventful, in a good and a bad way.
Let's get the bad news out of the way first. On Monday, September 19th, hundreds of American University students gathered in front of the Mary Graydon Center to protest against the acts of racism that have been occurring on our campus. The protest was a result of an African-American woman having a banana thrown at her in her dorm earlier this month. Around the same time, another African-American student dealt with a similar situation, where she found a rotten banana outside her door, as well as an obscene drawing on a whiteboard on her dorm room door. These events have caused a large amount of uproar throughout our community and the DMV. To address these events, President Neil Kerwin sent out a mass email ensuring the community that unacceptable behavior like this will be dealt with. He also informed us about the upcoming events to discuss more about these issues, called Courageous Conversations.
On a more positive note, the African American Museum finally opened its doors yesterday. To celebrate, the Smithsonian is throwing a 3-day festival that started on Friday, September 23rd and goes until today. Freedom Sounds, a community celebration, is a free event on the National Mall with a variety of festivities including food, music, and art. Yesterday, Jimmy Fallon's band The Roots took the stage to celebrate. If you missed out on Friday and Saturday's events, don't fret. There are events going on all day today, and the evening concert starts tonight at 6 p.m.
Now for some upcoming events that everyone should look out for. On Monday, September 26th at 8 p.m., the AU College Democrats will be hosting a debate watch party at the Perch. The AU College Republicans are also having a debate watch party at 8:30 p.m. in the McDowell Formal. Then at 9 p.m. in MGC Conference Room 247, the United Methodist Student Association is holding a nonpartisan viewing of the presidential debate as well. Also on Monday, PFAB is hosting their first community hangout for members of the community to come out and socialize and discuss topics in a safe space. This will be held in SIS 333. On Tuesday at 9 p.m. in the Butler Boardroom, Zeta Phi Beta sorority will be hosting a student-led police town hall due to recent violent crimes of police brutality against members of the African American community.
This Wednesday at 8 p.m., the Korean Student Association will have its weekly talk night. This event is geared towards students who want to learn Korean but don't have enough time to take a language course or just want some practice. This will be happening in MGC 303A. Also on Wednesday, Zeta Phi Beta will be hosting a blue and white game night from 8:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. On Thursday, the queer and progressive men community will be holding their annual talk about queer men's issues in the Butler Boardroom at 7 p.m. On Friday, AU players will host their first event of the season, Make American Great Again, on the Quad from 5 to 8 p.m. Make American Great Again is a series of plays. It's a free event, and everyone is encouraged to bring food and blankets and with them and kick it picnic style.
I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Erin. And this has been What's Up AU. Back to Tony and Wes in the studio.
Thanks, Erin and Chelsea. Honestly, Wes, I couldn't be more thrilled that the African American History Museum opened up. I think it'll do great things for DC, and I'm excited to visit it. What about you?
It was so powerful listening to President Obama's speech yesterday.
That's all for ATV News this week. I'm Tony Peak.
And I'm Wes Young. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.